Random Samples, where we're diving into the world of science education, featuring conversations with some of our favorite scientists, educators, science teacher educators, and passionate advocates who support the mission of the National Center for Science Education. I'm Amanda Townley, Executive Director here at NCSE. Throughout the year, we'll explore the many ways in which science is taught, learned, and championed across the country, while also celebrating the individuals who make it all possible. At NCSC, we are dedicated to ensuring that accurate science, free from ideological interference, is taught in public schools nationwide. We provide resources, training, and support to educators and advocate for the importance of sound science education in the face of challenges like misinformation, disinformation, and climate change denial. Each episode of Random Samples is a chance to learn from those who are shaping the future of science and science education. So many of you who are supporters of NCSE have by now probably listened to our new podcast, Safeguarding Sound Science. And if you have, you've probably become enamored with the voice of our host, Mat Kaplan. Mat has interviewed world-renowned scientists and science communicators, engaged in fanboy conversations about Star Trek and evolution, and has sat down with me and a number of other NCSE staff for in-depth conversations about climate change, evolution, and efforts to ensure that accurate science is being taught to our children and communicated to the world. Today, we're turning the tables on Mat and interviewing him for a change as part of our Random Samples series. Welcome to Random Samples, Mat.
Thank you very much, Amanda. It is always a strange feeling to be on the other side of the microphone.
Absolutely, absolutely. But it's wonderful to be able to, again, turn the tables on you so that people can learn a little bit about the man behind the magical voice. And so you really do have this lovely radio voice, if I can use that term without sounding, too old. Where did you get your start?
Well, thank you, first of all. The voice is entirely credited to my parents. I have nothing to do with it. No formal training like that. But I've been in love with, well before podcasting, with radio since before I got this voice. Actually, I remember my parents buying me a funny little transmitter. It had a Morse code key and a microphone that were really junk, but it had an AM radio transmitter. And I would sit in front of this microphone, send my three younger brothers outside because the range could pretty much only reach the outside of our house, and have them tune on my little transistor radio in to hear me talk. And I must have been, I don't know, 8 or 9 or 10 years old. And then got to do a little bit of this kind of stuff over the high school PA system. Wasn't really till I got to college and college radio, particularly KUCI at UC Irvine, where I absolutely exploded in my love for this stuff, and that's never stopped.
That is amazing. And from there, you've gone in so many different directions. And one of your recent directions is serving as the longtime host of Planetary Radio Podcasting.
Yes, as I said, and you said no problem. I felt obligated to wear my little Planetary Society pin, as our boss, our CEO, Bill Nye, would expect me to do. But I do have the NCSE cap as well, so thank you for that. I had already been doing a fair amount of science and technology reporting, and I was a member of the Planetary Society because I've been a space freak for as long as I've been a radio freak. Really, space and radio, I often say, my two favorite things outside of family. But I love talking about science in general. I decided to volunteer for the Planetary Society when they had a big conference, what we call Planet Fest. And within about 2 months, I was working there part-time while I continued to work at Cal State Long Beach University in Southern California, running a television studio. And it kind of grew from there. About 3 years later, we started Planetary Radio, which was our first broadcast show on public radio stations. We reached about 150 radio stations across the country. And then as soon as podcasting came in, we knew we had to go in that direction too. And so we were both on public radio and the podcast. And after 20 years of that, I finally decided it was probably time for a new voice. And so we found a wonderful colleague of mine, Sarah Ahmed, who has taken over, but I still get to contribute now and then. In fact, as we record this just this morning, my feature that I produced is the main feature in this week's Planetary Radio. So they let me keep my hand in the game over there, and we do a lot of other really fun stuff. I'm still a space nut.
I love that. And, truly hosting a podcast is no small feat. So you turned over the reins, so to speak, of the Planetary Podcast, and then you jumped back in the frying pan with us. What caused you to want to host a podcast for NCSE?
Well, I'll tell you, another part of my decision for backing away from planetary radio, at least with the more than full-time schedule I had as the host and producer, was because even though I still love space exploration and space science, I just didn't feel that I was doing enough to help meet the challenges that the NCSE takes on really head on with your mission. Science education, fighting pseudoscience, fighting misinformation and disinformation. My first impulse was mostly regarding climate change, which is why you guys graciously decided, yeah, let's devote the first season of Safeguarding Sound Science to that topic. But I care just as much about students, kids getting proper science education in other areas like biology, and of course, particularly evolution, which you, among many others on the show, have said without evolution, modern biology doesn't make a whole lot of sense, does it? And it's been so rewarding to be able to, first of all, talk to the fantastic people, real heroes of science and science education that you folks, NCSE, has paired me up with. But to think that, we're making, I'm being able to contribute a little bit, making a dent in the huge challenges that we face and that the NCSE has taken on.
Well, Matt, we are so appreciative and have loved getting to learn and experience these things with you in the process. And I mean, all of the episodes you've hosted for us have really been amazing. I find myself going back and listening over and over again, even going back to season one to listen. I'm sure you could talk for hours about any number of moments from those podcasts. What are the things that stand out for you?
I hate to pick favorites because you're in there a couple of times, of course, and you're among those. There have been so many wonderful moments. I mean, again, as I said, getting to meet, real heroes of science and these issues like Michael Mann, who I had met because he's a good friend of Bill Nye's. And there was an event where I got to kind of hang out with the two of them. But so many other people. I've been reading Scientific American for years and years. So getting to talk to Naomi Oreskes about climate change, but also misinformation, disinformation, which she has written this incredible history of across the 20th century, much more extensive than most of us were aware of. And of course, she's a regular columnist for the Scientific American magazine. This season, it's endless. I mean, right up to the last episode, because I'm not just a space nerd, I'm a Star Trek. I'm definitely a Trekkie. And getting to spend time with Mohammed Noor and Benjamin R. Harrison, Mohammed, who's a science advisor to Star Trek and knows one of my good friends who does the same thing, and Benjamin, who makes his living talking about Trek. My God, that's a wonderful way to live. And also knowing that most of these people, including Mohammed and Benjamin, are also big believers in the mission of the NCSE and have contributed to that mission. And I think Mohammed was given your award, right? Was awarded by the NCSE. So.
Yes, he has been.
And there are so many others. I mean, just for the entertainment value, the show that we did about sex, in the animal kingdom, which we're part of course, and the plant kingdom for that matter, and how important it is to evolution and how revealing it is. Was just fascinating and so much fun. But like you said, I could talk this way about basically any of the episodes we've done.
It really has been an amazing journey in these first two seasons. And I know that we are really looking forward to conversations about the future as well. You know, you talk often, you've mentioned several times your day job boss, Bill Nye, and you've often talked about the fact that your wife was a teacher. How have these two important people in your life affected your perspective as you've been interviewing the guests on the Safeguarding Sound Science podcast?
Great question. I was too old. I had aged out of the Bill Nye target audience for Bill Nye and the Science Guy, the old show. But fortunately, I had two daughters. And so they became huge Bill Nye fans. And, their science teachers had the bootleg copies on VHS of the Science Guy show in the classroom, which Bill is very proud of, by the way. But certainly his ability to combine entertainment and real down to earth communication about great science was a big influence on me. And I know that a big influence on him was the co founder of the Planetary Society, Carl Sagan, who we all revere, of course. And I know that Bill himself has a history with the NCSE going way back, and when he decided that he was going to accept the invitation to debate the creationists at the Ark, he got a lot of great support and training from your colleagues at NCSE. They helped him prepare for that. So Bill has been a big influence. My wife, the interesting thing about Adrian is that she's not a big space science or space exploration fan. And so it's a little tough. She likes listening to me, particularly when we do a live show over there with an audience. But she has absolutely fallen in love with safeguarding sound science because she loves biology. She loves that it's dealing with the getting the right facts into the minds of young people in particular, and so she's really enjoyed a lot of these shows, especially this last season on evolution. So that's been very encouraging, and she's probably my best critic as well. Keeps my feet on the ground and also provides a lot of good advice as we approach these topics.
I love that. Having people in every direction that are supporting the work that you're doing, whether you're an organization or an individual, certainly does make things a little bit better and helps you through, especially hard times like we've been facing in the last year,
Oh
looking
yeah.
at science and the different challenges that it's faced. So, Matt, what's in store for you moving forward? What do you think your future adventures are going to look like?
Who knows? I mean, I still am working part time for the Planetary Society. They've changed my title to Senior Communications Advisor, which I don't know where that came from. But like I said, I still get to contribute to Planetary Radio. I still get to hang out with Bill Nye now and then and do some special stuff. But I'm also really excited about continuing this relationship with you folks at the NCSE because that your mission, if anything, means even more to me now as we face the huge challenges that have only grown worse in the last, let's say, year or 11 months. I think that this feeling that I can generate from the work that I've been able to do with you folks, that NCSE has enabled, really makes me feel much better as I look out there across this somewhat depressing horizon at the moment and think, well, we all have to do what we can. But I'm looking forward to other things that may come up as well. And it's a fun time to be around in spite of all the challenges.
Absolutely. And I can say that, it really has been a pleasure having this partnership, and we're looking forward to the different things that are on the horizon for the future. I know I speak for myself, and I'm sure a lot of our listeners of the Safeguarding Sound Science podcast, that there's just something about hitting the play button and hearing your magical voice start introducing and talking about the importance of science. It's really become a very comforting thing, and
Mm.
very engaging over the course of the last year. And I always look forward to the new releases whenever we have a new episode that's coming down the pipeline.
Well, thank you for that, Amanda. I mean, whatever my voice brings to it, I'm grateful too. But really, as was true with Planetary Radio and every great interview I've been able to do, the focus is on the great people that I get to talk to. These leaders, these people who are at the forefront fighting for good science and great science education. And my job is to do the homework, ask the questions, and get out of the way, and just sit at their feet and listen. And I really am very, very grateful, as I said, for this opportunity to do that as part of my work for the NCSE, which I should say I am also a proud supporter of in other ways, like out of my wallet.
And that is greatly appreciated as well. Matt, thank you for that. And thank you for joining us today for Random Samples so that we could learn a little bit more about you. I want to also thank our NCSE community for joining us to listen to this conversation with you. I hope it's really sparked curiosity and inspired people to learn more about the critical work being done to ensure quality science education for all students. To learn more about the National Center for Science Education and how you can get involved, visit us at ncse.ngo. And if you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe, hit that like button, and share it with others who care about science and education. Remember, we're all in this together. We're building a future where scientific literacy and accurate science education are accessible to everyone. Thanks again for joining us, and we'll see you again on Random Samples.